Seems today okay. Was session everyone was like very early and all that.
People worry cannot get in.
Full is good problem.
Yeah, we got to direct them to the what is that called?
Facebook Live.
Yeah.
Zooming, can you type out the Facebook Live web address there? Okay, it's 1:55 now, so we are live on Facebook, so I will admit everyone in. So Peter, Vaclav, afterwards you all just turn on the video and all that.
Sure.
Vaclav, are you with us already? Okay, cool.
Sorry.
No. Just make sure you are here already. Okay,
Yeah,
so we're on Facebook Live, by the way.
That's fine.
And I think I
in the
will start
meantime,
the
so
recording now as well. Yeah. Okay. So good afternoon, everybody. Yes, today is Wesak Day. Wishing everyone happy Wesak Day. I know it's a public holiday for everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Even though today is a holiday, but just a quick. We will start at 2. So just a quick fun fact: when I was inviting our panelists today, Peter and Vaclav, so we actually totally forgot today is actually a holiday. So when he mentioned to us, oh, are we still doing it today? I said, yeah, why not? Since the MCO has started, I think most of us are kind of in a holiday working, what do you call it, arrangement. We arrange self-regularize our own schedules and all that. So yeah, afterwards probably we can also do a quick survey to see how many of you actually are working today. Because we realize there are some people actually call in and dial in from the office. So it's an interesting, it's very interesting during this time. So I hope you guys are excited. Today, the interstate travel has started until the 10th. So many of you will be probably making arrangement to travel back. If not, probably your loved one is traveling back to you or to your family members. So I wish everyone safe. Hope that the COVID-19 cases has been significantly dropped. spreading some positivity here. I think probably the government is doing a very good job in containing or even making sure the curve was flattened. So according to some sources that we read, you will not be able to totally, stopping it. You can only wish to flatten the curve and containing it, and also making sure that we all do our part, observing all the SOP that's in place to keep ourselves safe, to keep ourselves healthy, and of course to keep the economy running again. Okay, so as you can see in the screen here, we have actually showed you some videos that is running. These are some promotional videos that we are collaborating with our partners. One is Thriving Talent, and we have invited Michael Teo, Thriving Talent, to join us next Monday for a business session. So as you have aware, today is a very HR, or I would call it human capital session. Monday will be business focused session. So we have Thriving Talent Michael Teo on next Monday, and Sam Neo of Story of Asia on next Monday as well. So they will be sharing more on a sales approach, probably from a branding, from a characteristic, from a leadership perspective, because all businesses need sales, needs revenue, right? So this is just a little bit of promotional and airtime. So today we have very, very good turnout. Thank you everyone for coming in early, because for the first time after our 3 sessions, we are almost at full capacity. Yeah. So I think this is something we should be happy. So I'm not sure why last round, probably Monday, everyone was they are still very confused. They are still very, getting back on the track to start work at the 4th of May. So, but today I think everyone is on full steam. Yeah, we have 94. For those of you, if you want, you can actually share out the link that we will post here. Brendan or Zimin, can you post the Facebook link so you can also watch us on Facebook live, interact with us, send us any message, get in touch with us, because we are at 97 now. Yeah, 98, yeah. So if the session is so overwhelming, I think next round we will have to increase our capacity. 99, wow, okay.
It's full.
It's full, yeah. Thank you everyone for being on time and making sure that we have filled up our maximum capacity on Zoom. But fear not, if any of your friends or your peers or your colleagues are unable to join, just go on to Facebook Live. The address here is facebook.com/tqsolution/live. Yeah. So watch us on Facebook Live if you are unable to, be with us in this Zoom session. So yes, we are full now. So let's start on time. Okay, let me just go to my slide. For those of you who just joined us, thank you so much for, coming to this session today. And just give me a second to pull up the slide. Okay. I think probably I pulled the wrong slide. Sorry guys, give me a second here. Yeah, I got too excited when we have 100 participants. Okay, so we are on Facebook Live and the session starts now. Today we have a very interesting session. We actually name it Human Capital Do's and Don'ts. So for our series, this is actually a chapter 6 series. For those of you who have followed us since MCO started, we have been doing a session called Layoff Decision and Strategies. But now we want to start into something called human capital do's and don'ts. So notice I actually put a human capital as a change. We will go into why we call this human capital, and we go into some of the details. And of course, with us afterwards, I will also introduce our great panelists, two great master in this industry to share with us shortly. So today is our actually chapter 6 series. So I share with my team, I like to make this into like a TV series. If you like Game of Thrones or even the zombie, I don't know, the Walking Dead, series. So we like to make it into a series because we want to have a continuation. That's why we're making it into a series. And also to ensure it's consistent, our topics, if you have followed from chapter 1 till now, it's a following series. Of course, the actors change, but you still see me, yeah, right? Okay, so I'm your host. My name is Leo. I'm the founder of TraitQuest, and I'm the host for today. TraitQuest specializes in organizational technology and human capital management. So for the benefit of this session, we actually would like to deep dive more into HCM, human capital management. Before that, we have two great panelists. The first one is Peter Law. Peter Law is the executive coach, HR and OD strategist. So he will be sharing with us what's next, what is the MCO impact. He has brought a very good and rich experience from Massing Group. He was also from Great Eastern, so he will be able to share practical and as a HR practitioner, all this experience. So feel free to engage with us, leave your message or questions in the chat group. I believe we have full capacity today. So any questions, we will try our best to take into it, answer it. If not, of course, we will engage you after that to send you an update. Next, we have Vaclav Koranda. So he's the Vice President of Human Resource of T Systems. He will share with us back to work what it's like in the next 6 months. So without further ado, I would like to kind of walk you guys through on human capital management. Just a very short introduction. So why do we want to name it human capital management rather than just human resource? Because we want to differentiate what you are currently doing or you may be practicing and what is next. What are the areas or the things that we can cover next? So just a little bit on the difference between HRM, Human Resource Management, and HCM. So HCM focuses on competency management, knowledge management, organizational design, employee engagement, capability, career leadership, succession planning, workforce analytics. So it focuses on producing economic value, right? So human resource, of course, focus on management of people. So I just want to put into a context, the discussion today is looking at producing economic value. So I will not do too much of an introduction. I will let the speaker to make their own introduction, why what they will be sharing will be best suited in this title. So next, I will pass on to Peter Law. Peter Law, you will have the stage.
All right, I will share the screen first. Okay, are we good? All right, business leaders, HR leaders, I understand that there's quite a number of you are students joining in from Management and Science University. This is a difficult choice. What's next from the employee experience perspective? Now, my question here is, in the last 7 weeks, what have you achieved? Don't give me any answer. got to ponder about it. Is have you done the level best that you have? Health crisis leads to an oil crisis, leads to economic crisis. It's like a perfect storm. The question here is the worst over? Now, I'm going to take you through the seven pointers here. The moment of truth, what's next? And the truth is that I think working from home will continue. And if you are able to work from home, my urge to you is continue to do that, because that's the best things to do for now to keep everybody safe. For organization who have the work from home practices, it's probably a good time to adopt the flexi work arrangement in a more broader scale. With the impact of COVID-19 crisis, it's high time for us to look, with a new mindset. Question here is, are you or your team ready for this? Back to work. Many times, a lot of people talk about, back to work. It's like I'm going back to work as norm before the COVID-19, and that is a very dangerous mindset to fall in. From the HR leaders and the business leaders, the other point that I want to raise here is new office setup, social distancing to be enforced. So the question here is, your office may not be able to cater for everybody to return to work. How are you going to do it? What are the things that you need to do? Get back to the office. Some of the people are already back in the office, or if you are not back in the office, it's probably a good time to look at it. How are you going to ensure that social distancing? Because these are the rules set by the government. And the rules will lead to new rules. New rules will lead to many other establishments of so-called guiding principle for your new the employees that you are having. So questions for the business leaders and the HR leaders: have you established the new rules in place, new rules of engagement? How frequent that, you have a team A, team B, team C, team D, whatsoever. You may have a different shift that you are working on, so that you are able to run the business in almost less full capacity like you used to, but with the lesser people in the office. Number 5 is really, you got to start looking at establishing different set of expectations. And these new expectations really, at some point, business needs to take cognizance that efficiency may be compromised or can be compromised. So if the efficiency is being compromised, what are you doing about it? What sort of arrangement that you are going to work with the individuals or teams that you are having, be it working from home, be it working from remote locations. So that will lead to a whole new paradigm shift for business leaders and HR leaders here. It's a new normal that, trust me, the fear is going to be there. And everybody will have that sort of fear there. What are you doing about it? Because as a result of point 1 to number 6, there will be requirements of probably a new business model need to be established. And my questions to all business leaders and HR leaders, it is time for us to reinvent ourselves. Now that set the tone for the next. So planning for the recovery and the growth, required a new set of mindset. Business leader, HR leaders, you got to be open and trust the people that you have. You got to embrace the VUCA, very volatile situations that we are in, very uncertain, very complex, because of the 3 different scenarios that we are in. We have the fear continue to happen. The oil price is still going to be very low, especially those certain industry that is being impacted because of that. And we are going to be still living in a very ambiguous moment. My urge to all business and HR leaders is to empower the people that you have. When they are working from home, let them have the little leeways to produce the required set of things that you expect them to do at their time. And it is also very, very essential for business leaders and HR leaders to instill the growth mindset. So that essentially tackle the mindset. Now, there will be a new skill set that is expected as a result of this COVID-19. And then agility is key here, that you need to be able to jump from one situation to the next situations. Now, business leaders and the HR leaders and everyone in different teams require certain level of empathy, trying to understand and empathize the people, the challenges that they face, so that you are able to drive the best out of the individuals. Now, can't be overemphasized here. Also, digital skills is needed. So those who are in the past have always seen things that, I'm 55 already, in 5 years I'm going to retire. I don't need to learn this technology, and I don't need to look at these apps and that apps. Perhaps you got to rethink about, that mode of thinking. And last but not least, communications and business leaders, HR leaders, communicate. Over communicate is better than never communicate. But when you over communicate, you got to communicate with transparency. Now, the last part I would like to touch on is really new tool sets. So if your organization in the past, before the COVID-19 happened, before the lockdown or MCO, you have not established the infrastructures to allow people to work from home, this is the opportunity for you to really rewire around that. Now, a lot of organizations also in the past has been, looking at digitization. Digitization is basically everything put in a e-copies. That doesn't work. That is not the new gig economy. The gig economy is digitalizations, and you don't go to, because of so ambiguous VUCA, you need to adopt the agile method, and also it's high time to actually work on e-learning mode for people, so that you can continue to develop the right people and the right talents that you have. And the last but not least, really with that, you need, because of the remote, because of the different set of expectations, you need to reinvent the performance management so that people can still achieve the business objective, but at the same time being productive. Now, that with the 3 points, a new mindset, new skill sets, new tool sets, it will lead to a new culture. And the new culture is how the business to be able to continue. Here, I urge all the business leaders and the HR leaders to establish enterprise business continuity plans, disaster recovery plans, and also this is to ensure that you are able to run a sustainable business success. Now, I'm going to wrap up here that to do and to move into a new set of business model, you need high trust culture. You need to empower the people. You need to enable the people to do what they wanted to do, and at the same time achieving the business objective. You need to allow people to do experiential, and that experiential will learn a new great deals and allow the company to be agile. And for leaders, you need to engage your people. Now, question here is, after the COVID-19, what will your employer reputations going to be look like? What will be your leadership brand that people experience over the last 7 weeks? And the last but not least is, my urge to you is, this is the moment of truth. The employee will speak up. My urge to you is still keep them safe, because by keeping them safe, they will know that you are looking after them. It is not about time to really push on efficiency, because efficiency may not get effective results. So my question is, what you envision after the COVID-19 crisis? we are not over yet, but you probably envision that, you know, it's a calm sea, you have landed, you're safe. If you have done everything to the best of your ability, tonight you will sleep well, because you have put in your best. But while you have put in your best, you also must remember that, you know, business as usual is gone forever. So the old way of running your business will not be applicable to what you are about to experience or going through right now, because life will never be the same anymore. So business leaders and HR leaders and students that I have in this forum, I leave you with these quotes. The choices you make today dictates the life you live on tomorrow. Go and make the wise choices. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter. Yeah, I believe these are some of a dying, burning questions that we constantly need to ask ourselves. We need to remind ourselves as well, because I think probably during this time, most of us are very busy on going, you know, cooking, doing all our things, are not really pondering these sort of questions, and we are firefighting. So we always like to share with our fellow colleagues or peers here, don't firefight, but respond to the situation rather than reacting to it. Before I move on to our next speaker, I'd like to do a poll. So this poll, it's called Human Capital's Do's and Don't. There are only 2 questions, so my polls are usually very short. But please, if most of you can actually answer it, that would be great. We want to know, what are your organization's greatest human capital challenge now, after MCO, and for the next 6 months? What key factors will determine your ability and roles to meet the organization roles? So I have already launched it. Can everyone see it? So can all of you just answer through these 2 questions, these 2 polls? So there are 20 of you have already done it. The rest of it, keep up. Let's complete the polls so that we can gather this information and understand what sort of challenges do you face, what sort of help do you need. Because of TraitQuest, we are currently doing this as a positioning to respond, to help to be your responding partner, rather than helping you to just firefight. So we want you to respond, to anticipate. I think today I just read there are an article that's been released. It's called 3A. You want to act on it. You want to analyze. Then the last A is anticipate. I believe this is from MOHR, Ministry of Human Resource. So during this time, you want to act on it. You want to analyze the situation, take all the data you have, and anticipate what's happening, what's going to happen. Okay, we have 62 that's responded. Thank you very much. So I shall end this poll in another 15 seconds. Okay, so we stopped at 72 and 74%. So let me just share with you guys the results. Can you all see the results?
Yep.
Okay, so the first one, there are 73 of you actually answered this poll. What are your organization greatest human capital challenges now after MCO and for the next 6 months? So 56% of you mentioned managing and creating high performing culture. The next highest will be maintaining employee engagement. So on this note, we actually have the data from SHRM to actually make a comparison. Maintaining employee engagement was their highest at 70%. And the next one is actually managing and creating high performing culture. So most of us have resorted into working from home or practicing some sort of work from home policy, but the challenge is always about how you want to manage it. So I think probably we can take this as a questions later to discuss. The next question is interesting because what key factors will determine your ability and roles to meet the organizational needs? So 64%, which is 47 of you, answered strategic HR practices. Interestingly, the next highest would be 35, efficient use of HRIS or HR technology. So as Peter has mentioned, digitalization versus digitalization. Yes. So there are distinctive difference between the two. One meaning that you just put things digital into, online or into a soft copy, into a digital copy. The other one is actually using technology to make analytical data-driven decision, to make analysis so that you can make your decision more accurate, more better sound decision, rather than a biased decision based on, I feel or I think, right? And strategic HR practices, this is where we have all these sessions to talk about what are strategies, what are the practices that HR, or I would like to now move on to call human capital management, can start applying or start implementing. So thank you. I will have another poll later. So if there are any questions and answers, if you feel shy, if you don't want to put on a chat group, you can always select from this survey form, or you scan the QR code, get engaged, feedback to us so we can curate more sessions to come. Bear in mind, guys, this is not the only session. This will be the continuous session that we will be running throughout the year. So I think government has advised us for the next 6 months, there are no mass gathering. So there will be less events. So we will move things online. All right. And if any of you have any challenge that you want to do a scheduling workforce guidance with us, you can also do it with us on this link. We will share resources and tools to empower you as HR or human capital. So we are also working on some coaching programs, so which we were more than happy to share with you after we have finalized this week. So move on to Vaclav. So sorry, I take a little bit of your time, just an airtime. So Vaclav will share with us back to work what it's like in the next 6 months. Vaclav, over to you.
No issues. Hi, I can cut it short, no problem. In the same way you cut short my hair in this picture, I like it because as you can see, I'm really missing the hair salons. Everything is closed still, and it's becoming highly visible now. But this is a way how to deal with it. Do some Photoshop work, and then it will be fine. So yeah, I mean,
I'll stop sharing my screen for you to share. Yeah, Vaclav.
Sure. I'll share what I have prepared for you. You do that. I hope you can see it. Good afternoon and happy Vesak Day to everyone who celebrates, and thank you very much for joining. We, I think, did not expect such a huge audience, but it's very positive. You're interested in this kind of topics. I wanted to share.
Vaclav, I think it's slightly small.
Sorry?
Can you make it larger? Yeah.
Larger?
Yeah, I think it's slightly small for the audience to view.
Better?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. I wanted to share some practical tips and basically an example of how we plan returning back to the so-called new normal. Yeah. Currently, our company is 100% working from home. And I would like to reflect first on how this whole thing with the MCO started. That time I was in my home country for holiday, and I came back on Monday. It was 16th of March in the afternoon. And I went to bed early because I was jet lagged. At about 9 p.m. there was the announcement about the MCO, right? I woke up somehow in the middle of the night, and it was 2 a.m. and I saw all the messages in all the chat groups, and everything was buzzing. The whole world was buzzing about the MCO and what to do now and so on. And since then, I have not stopped working till maybe 1 a.m. the next day. And so did many of my colleagues in our company, because we were really rushing in, preparing everything for being able to continue our operations during the MCO. And everything was very spontaneous, very agile, very lively. And we managed to basically turn from almost 100% working from office to 100% working from home in a day. Yeah, and there was no plan. But of course, currently we are like almost 2 months into the MCO, so everybody has had plenty of time to do things and think about things. So now when we come back to the office, there has to be a plan. So although when we went from to working from home, there was no plan, and we did it in a day. Now we have a plan, and this is like version 7 of the plan, which I'm showing you. Yeah. So that's just a sideline remark on different ways how to do things. When you are in a crisis mode, you can do things very quickly, even though you have no plan. And if you have plenty of time, then you can actually spend days and weeks on planning things, which probably sometimes don't even require that much of an attention, because a lot of this is basically common sense. But I believe that there are a few points that might be interesting for you from the practical perspective. If you are HR practitioners in your company, tips or practices you can find useful, and you can also implement when you return back to the so-called new normal. Yeah. So basically, how we go about this is we categorize our staff based on several criteria. One is whether the staff has logistic issues in a sense of either physically getting to the office, or logging from home, or connection issues, or any sorts of technological issues or technical issues with the virtual working that basically impacts how we will deal with them in terms of coming back to the office. Then we also identified so-called business critical staff. Our company is an IT company, and we basically monitor and manage IT systems for our customers. And some of the customers include like Shell, include pharmaceutical companies, include airlines, include hospitals, include manufacturing companies. Many of these companies have critical operations that are running on these systems, and we can't afford to have an outage on these systems. And we have very strict rules with our customers, very strict SLAs in the contracts. And luckily, we haven't had any sort of like major critical situation on our customer systems throughout this MCO period. But you never know what can happen, and certain things cannot be really fixed remotely, and you have to be attached physically to the company network to be able to do it. So this stuff is categorized as business critical, and they will return among the first to the office. And then we also use the criteria of who is a high risk in a sense of either the people have health issues that can lead to, let's say, more severe consequences when they get the infection, or they care for people who have such condition like maybe elderly parents with immune system issues or diabetes and stuff like that. And then we have identified 5 phases. As you can see in the first phase, it's mainly the internal IT. It means as an IT company, we also have an internal IT department that takes care of ourselves, and they have to go back and prepare the things first. Also the facility management, they are actually coming back already now and preparing the office physically. We have been thinking what to do, how to limit, how to keep the social distancing. That's one thing. So there will be areas marked. Some meeting rooms are excluded. We will switch off the elevators so that people don't aggregate in the elevators. How to go about the pantries, which seats to allow, which to exclude, and so on. And I've also said that we need to pay attention to things where people have to touch. We can keep social distancing as much as we can, but if the people have to go through certain door 5 times a day and touch the doorknob, this is probably the hotspot where the infection will be shared, right? So how to go about that? Which doors have to remain closed because of fire protection reasons or other reasons? Which doors can be left open? Also, how to go about the closed doors? So we will install additional disinfection dispensers around these doors and one-time gloves. This kind of like loosey gloves you can sometimes find in supermarkets when you want to get your bakery and stuff like that, so that they don't have to physically touch anything that is not necessary. And then as the phases continue, we will gradually bring the staff back to the office with basically the aim to have no more than 50% of occupancy level of the building at any point of time. The managers are splitting the teams into ideally 2 equal parts, A and B, which will take turns. 1 week the team A will be in the office, the other week team B will be in the office. The ultimate goal, I'm not really sure from nowadays perspective whether we will anytime soon return to 100% working from the office. I think it's one of the possible outcomes of this whole situation is that we will realize that actually we don't need all the facilities which we occupy nowadays. And in my ideal situation, or anticipation, I would say 50-50 is like for me the paramount where we should aim for the future, so that we can also achieve not only increase security of our staff, but also savings on infrastructure. And another aspect which I actually observed during this time was our medical cost, because we offer medical plan for our employees. Our medical cost went down by 70% compared to the beginning of the MCO. For sure, one part is people are scared to go to the hospital because, if you go anywhere, then the place where the virus is for sure one is the hospital one. If you want to get it, go to hospital. Yeah, I'm not saying everyone who goes to hospital will get it, but that's the sure place where it is. So the chance you get it is of course higher. So people are scared. That's one point. But the other point is also I realized, and I've had informal discussions with my colleagues and with some of our employees. We have had some we call it engagement calls with different teams. This situation puts the whole work-life balance into totally different light. And before we used to have a lot of sick leave on Mondays and Fridays, and then days between public holidays. Like typically tomorrow would be a spike in the sick leave, right? And when you look at the causes, it's usually migraine, it's usually diarrhea and this kind of stuff, which is likely to get you one day sick leave from basically any clinic you go to. And if you work from home, I think people are less prone to do this kind of thing because they can actually structure their work-life balance much better in a sense that, you know, in the afternoon, I need to go to school to fetch some books or do something with the children or something like that. You can pretty much structure the schedule of the day, work in the morning or then work in the evening, or you know, the work-life balance, at least in our companies, is now much more, I would say, in the hands of the employees than it was before. And I think if we keep the at least I would say 50% people working from home going forward, it will also help to curb this, I would say, not so genuine usage of the sick leave. Yeah. So, well, yeah, okay. A few actions and measures which we are implementing: health checks, temperature screening, sanitization, face masks, physical distancing, as I've already mentioned. And also the office will be closed throughout the night. We have about 50% of the people that are working on shifts, 24/7 rota. Night shift will have to work from home because of the conditional MCO, right? And some restriction on parking spaces and so on, details which I think we don't have to go through unnecessarily. I think the slides will be shared with you later. So, and there are a few rules regarding we call it social culture rules regarding how to go about gatherings, how to go about now the months of Ramadan, and so on and so on. It's more for private life tips. All right, that's all from my side. What I wanted to share now. I give the work back to Leo. I think we will have some questions and answers.
Yeah, thank you, Vaclav. So before we move on to that, of course, I have another poll now. Can you guys just help me to also fill up this next poll? Okay, let me launch now. So this is just to understand a little bit more from how are you doing your current mode? Are you guys all observing what the government has implemented? All of you are working from office now, which means you're back to office. Or some of you still do like what Vaclav has mentioned, working from home, or there will be a 50-50 implemented. So yes, thank you all. The next question, of course, we want to know you better. What sort of background you are currently, so we can facilitate the question and moderate it. So 22. So to all the participants there is not filling up the poll, if you have any questions, please put down on the chat so that we can also address. It can be attention to Peter, it can be attention to Vaclav, it can be also attention to anyone else here, like what sort of practices, like Peter has mentioned a very good question, medical cost is down. So, you know, all the HR and businesses, what observation you have over the last 2 months on the cost. So here, just a little bit introduction of Peter. He did not mention he used to be an accountant. So The lot of questions, a lot of perspective are very numbers driven as well. So it's a very unique situation Peter is or even has with his background. Okay, 59.
Sorry,
Yes.
Leo. Sorry, I'm not an accountant, but I'm very numerical person.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely not an accountant because I leave that accounting job to real accountant.
But I remember you did something account before HR, right?
No, it's not an accountant, but it's another job that is more interesting than accountant. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I remember already. sorry for the mix-up. All this while I
Sometimes
thought
accountant can be also very creative, you know.
Yeah, we have a lot.
my apologies, because I know definitely Peter is very sensitive with numbers. Is all numbers driven data, and I recall now what was before already. I recall now. Okay, we have 63. So I think the rest of the people don't feel like answering. So let's stop the poll and I share the result. So there are 44%, which is 28 out of you are still working from home. I think you have been doing a very good job in making sure nobody is wandering around. So there are 24 of you not working, 13 of you 50-50, and 2 of you working from office. So that I'm not sure this explains because today is a holiday, you're working from home, or you because you're since 4th of May you are working from home. So of course we did not specify it very clearly. So most of you are human capital, HR or people officer, and there are 30% of you are C-level. And then, of course, 17% of you are managerial, senior managers, or VP. Okay, cool. So what I'm doing next is I want to share with you, since from the first poll that many of you mentioned has some, challenges or sort of not understanding how to go about managing high performance culture. So I would like to share I'd like to share some tips, just a very quick one before we go into the Q&A session. So in managing a high performance culture, normally what we do, we get our clients or our business owners or our clients, business owners, and also HR to do an assessment, or sometimes they call it organizational audit. So this will be very good data to let you know, just like what Vaclav has shared earlier, or Peter has shared earlier, we emphasize a lot on data, because without data, whatever we are sharing now doesn't mean anything, right? So looking into overall, what is your company culture? Who are the people you are hiring? What are their styles? What is the practice? What is the norm around the company, right? And next, of course, to understand the openness to change at various levels among your organization, your people, your key stakeholders, your managers. This normally is the second hurdle that you will face when you want to implement a change. So any change for the matter, I think Vaclav has mentioned work from home is a very good change of culture, whereby you see a significant loss of, significant reduction of medical cost, which we all understand one of the key criteria of human capital analysis is to understand when people take off days or take sick leave, because that is a very high cost. And rightfully, like what Vaclav mentioned, because today is a public holiday, you will see a spike. Everyone is taking holiday tomorrow, right? Just human nature. So this is a very good indicator whereby when you look at change of a working from home environment or different policies will help you to do a reduction of costs. And the third one, to understand what is your current performance management processes. So 6 key elements to focus is, of course, to look into strength-based development, agile goal setting, effective continuous feedback, coaching for performance, reward, and social recognition. I just thought this would be something interesting to share with you since I have it, because this is not what it's about, but this is something for just tips and tooltips for you guys. The slides will be shared over. If you're interested, of course, as usual, leave your contact email so that we can send it to you. So next comes to the Q&A session. So for those of you who have already filled up the survey form, we will definitely look into that, some of the questions and answer. But since not many of you have any questions from the chat group, so let's see from, okay, YC Chain mentioned there are some views from F&B industry. Since most of the outlets are on partial operation during MCO, staff are able to get more rest, and hence MC and sick application submitted has been dropping for more than 70%. So this is a very positive data to show that actually most of us are not that sick. We just want to get some rest. I think maybe I can repost this as a question. So Peter and Vaclav, and both of you, what was your experience like before this? I mean, before the MCO, has this medical cost be a huge cost or comprises the most that is in the HR operation or even in your operational cost?
I will take that first.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, medical cost has always been one of the key HR operations costs, depending the number of people, and then a lot of analytics you need to slice and dice before you decide on what to do with the medical costs. Some organizations decided to do, for ease of operations, they actually outsource it to insurance company. Some actually outsource it to a third-party provider where they will consolidate, and then monthly you will only get a report as to how much of dollar and cents that you need to pay, and then you monitor from there, and then they will give you some simple stacks to give you a sort of like how the amount are being stacked out. But from the HR angle, for the human capital angle, you need to then dive into deeper and look at it from who are the people who spend the most, which are the age group. It could be employee by rank, it could be by departments, could be by what is that called, by location based, because you'll be discovering a lot of interesting stuff just by having that sort of analytics done. So yes, it is one of the major costs in HR operations. Yeah.
Vaclav, what about your side?
Oh, I was just doing some quick calculation now. Before the MCO, we were running about 30% higher. The run rate was 30% higher than we were expecting this year. And I think it's also driven by the fact that we are downsizing this year quite significantly. And I think that the employees are making use of the medical policy whilst they still can. And there has been spike in planned surgeries, things like artificial knees and other basically surgeries which were not really critical. Now the MCO has helped us a little bit in that sense that the cost went down. So I think overall we will be able to end the year within the budget. So that's a positive aspect for sure. I think nothing is just black or white. There's always two sides of every coin. So from that perspective, yes, it's getting better now. Overall, I would say it's like maybe 6% of the personal cost is the medical cost, which is not much in percentage, but on the other hand, personal cost is the highest cost we have in our company. So it's the most, basically the most, the part of the cost that people look at the most. Yeah. So we are under scrutiny from the headquarters as well. So that's about the medical cost from my side. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Vaclav. Thank you, Peter. I think just based on the number that was shared by Vaclav, 6%, of course, is not high percentage. But if you were to convert into a number, of course, I think it's very high cost, right, to involve. And especially when we think about it, there are a lot of productivity loss of cost, not only just medical bill costs, but there are other loss. It could be motivations, employee engagement, the productivity, things are halted, things are stopped, things are delayed. So these are we call it invisible costs that's involved as well. So when we do a sort of, like I mentioned earlier, when we do an assessment or an audit, please take into account that these are the other areas that we might not have looked into as well. All right. So from Joanne Ang, questions for panel as a leader. So this is a very interesting question because I think it involves into what we call mental health, right? As a leaders or as a senior teams that's managing, or even as HR that's managing, right? So how can we become more resilient and build resilience to our employees during the COVID-19 after layoff? I think, Peter, for you.
Thanks, Leo, and thanks, Joanne, for the great questions. Personally, resilience to me is very fundamental of resilience is actually the mindset. In crisis like this, I'm not too sure whether you are HR leaders or as a business leaders. It is a time where everybody in the organization looking up to you and say, what are you doing about it? What are you going to do? We expect this, we expect this. So the expectation just run very, very high. And it can be very tense. It can be very, you know, if your personal well-being are compromised, then you may break down. Now, to prepare yourself to be resilient, you got to anticipate the worst to start with. So it starts with mindset. You got to be able to look after, first self-care. If you are not well, I don't think you are able to do much to help the organization or to help people. So first thing is look after your own health and well-being to start with. Second part is you got to anticipate the worst before you start jumping in and trying to volunteer and take all the things that you may not be able to deliver. So resilience is very, very essential part of the human being's well-being. And I urge you to, if you are very very tense, take a little bit time to rekindle, to reconnect with someone that give you better purpose or more meaningful purpose in life. That would be the beginning. Yeah.
Vaclav, do you have any add-on?
I think in this kind of situation, either it will burn you or it will basically make you stronger. There's nothing in between. Yeah, it's sort of a crisis which we have never experienced before. The only thing I can think about which is worse is war. If there's a real war, or maybe radiation. Yeah. So it really brought up different things out of people, and sometimes it's interesting to see how people change during this kind of situation. And particularly, I have one colleague on mind who who, let's say, had a reputation of being rather slow and, you know, not very, how to say, proactive or agile, yeah, in that sense. And in this, in the crisis situation, especially in the first days when we were really trying to scratch our brains how to adapt our business very quickly, he actually did the best job, because he maintained complete composure. He was not derailed for a single second. You know, he was running some of the business continuity meetings with great clarity, great structure, and that kind of stability that actually emanated from you know, his voice and his whole personality was something which I felt that was what the organization really needed at that point of time. So you will see how people change under when they are put under a lot of stress, not just under stress, yeah, under extreme circumstances. And what to do to be more resilient? I think I personally use a few things, and one is mindfulness. That helps very well, and I think you can learn these techniques quite easily. And the second is I tried to use some of the coaching techniques, because I've been recently to coaching training, and some of the, you know, if you try like self-coach yourself out of the situation, that helps me a lot. And the most frequent one I'm using is turning things into a game. If you think, you know, oh, the government is now doing this and then doing that, and they keep changing everything, and then how we should adjust. Especially, I loved when there was a new message from the Prime Minister at some point late in the evening, yeah, or at night, and then we could not sleep the following night because we were racking our brains how to adapt to that. You know, what kind of letter do the people need to be able to travel to the office, and so on and so on. And I always tell myself, take it as a game, take it as a test. You know, how well you can actually perform in this game. So that's my few tips.
Yeah, I think Peter and Vaclav share it very on the dot on this resilience topic. I see this as a very common topic these days because due to what we call a black swan scenario. Yeah, we were supposed to start, you know, our resume after 13. Our MCO was until 12, and suddenly on 1st May, our dear Prime Minister did this announcement. And I think that's what Vaclav mentioned. Keep us, you know, not able to sleep, keep us thinking what's next, what to do next. Hence, what we want to share with you here is also to anticipate what's going to happen and what's coming. So the COVID-19 and MCO is kind of at, you know, past us now. Is no longer a thing because we are in that now. But what's coming up next is there are more challenges to anticipate to come. So I think just to echo from what Peter shared earlier, is to look into your mindset, right? So he shared about to be open, trust in your people, to embrace VUCA. So for those of you not sure, you can search on VUCA, VUCA, to empower your people. And lastly, to instill growth mindset. So these are the mindset that you need to set before even doing anything, right? Because I think that is also very much deal with resilience. When you want to talk about resilience, it's always you need to know what's going on, because you don't know what you don't know. That's where you start to be shaking and non-resilience, or, you know, under stress. But for a lot of other people, of course, they can perform better and they can do better as well. So I just want to move on to the next question. Of course, is from, thank you, YC Cheng again. So he said, I think, I'm not sure he or she here, but something came into my mind. Would like to ask if employees are on pay cut for lesser working days nowadays. Have you guys tried to cultivate the new mindset and encourage employees to utilize this period to upskill their capabilities? If does, what are the arrangement you guys giving? So I believe this is also back to Peter, OD and L&D question.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, quick one. YC Cheng, very brave organizations that take that. Okay, he is a he. Sorry, YC Cheng is our brother. Yes, or many organizations I know of, and in fact, my former organizations also encourage people to do the shorter week or clear all the annual leaves that they have. And once you exhausted with that, then you will go with what we call no pay leave lah, or pay cut in that sense lah. Now, there is a saying goes, you want, so this is a collective things that as an organizations, we cannot be overly selfish. As an individual, we must looking at a greater, as an organization, you build upon many people in hundreds and in thousands, a large organization in hundreds of thousands. So what happened is that collective decision like this is, it is better to have everyone take a little suffering. Little means it could be 5%, could be 10%. You are 1 day extra off in a week, and you save your colleagues who may be out of job. So it's suffer little for a greater being. Then you someone suffer a lot, and you guys are enjoying it. So it is the mindset that you need to, as an organization, you need to take that stand. Now, so if you are in that situation where your organization decided to do pay cut or shorter week, take this great opportunity. I mean, from the HR angle, on a business leaders, I think if you do that, I would urge you to start plowing some form of money into providing opportunity for people to learn new skill, new stuff, that is relevant to your business. And in fact, there are thousands and thousands of different e-learning opportunities out there at zero cost. Literally zero. I can even, I will type it there in a short while. Even, in fact, LinkedIn Learning are also giving some of the learning free. Harvard Business Publishing also giving some of the e-learning free. Center for Asia Leadership is key. I will share with you the name in a short while. And there are many others. This is an opportunity. So as an employee, you need to be able to grab this as well. And at an opportunity, you come back and show to your boss that you in fact are a better person compared to before the crisis. Or you can just talk about it and then you say, give me a 10% pay cut or 20% pay cut, and at the end of the day, after the crisis, 8 weeks is over, 12 weeks is over, you are no difference compared to before the crisis. So you got to ask yourself, who do you want yourself to be? Do you want a better version of yourself, or do you want a old version of yourself, but everybody have forged ahead and you will be left behind?
Okay, thank you, Peter. Vaclav, do you want to add on?
Yeah, I think I would like to add a little bit of business perspective to this. As you mentioned, we as an IT company, we are not implementing pay cuts because everyone is pretty much working 100% nowadays still. And we are of course thinking what is the impact to our business. And during the engagement calls we had with our employees, I told them, we are one of the lucky ones that still can continue to operate despite of the situation. And we are still getting revenues from our customers because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years contracts. That's usually how the business works in IT. But we can already see the decline in ad hoc business, because with many of our big clients, it's not just the regular work we do for them, but there's always some kind of side activity, ad hoc projects, migration, something has to be implemented here and there, and so on. And they are already cutting their spending on that. Yeah. And also what we can expect is once, let's say, the second half of the year will be coming, or maybe Q4, they will be basically looking at their financials, and we expect them to come back and say whether we could probably give them discounts, or whether we could defer the payment or something like that, especially the clients from manufacturing industry who have been hit quite severely. So there will be impact on our finance later on, for sure, and we have to prepare for that. But also our business strategists are already thinking and trying to find ways how we can also benefit, let's say, from the situation, or let's say how to improve our business situation and find a win-win with the client. Yeah? In a sense that now there's much more pressure on digitization, as Peter said, remote working. And there's a lot of things the IT company can do for the clients. So maybe they will require better security when people will be working more from home, or they will require more of the digital solutions, which we have been already working on, or they will require more maybe VPN connectivity, and so on and so on. There are always opportunities, and I think that's how other companies have to look at it as well. Not only that it's affecting our business negatively, for sure it is, but also what are the positives which we can gain out of the situation. And gain, I mean, not in a bad sense to like piggyback on the situation, but the needs of the clients will change, and they will require different type of support or different service. So why not to bring it to them to mutually help each other?
Okay, thank you, Vaclav. I think just to also remind or repeat what I have shared earlier, hence that's why we want this session to be called a human capital management rather than a human resource management, because this is exactly just to echo to Peter and also Vaclav on YC Cheng's questions, it's about being resourcefulness. And I think the question would be, what would be your role? What would you do to ensure that their learning continues, that they are being upskilled, that we call it capability management and career management. What's next for them? Of course, we all say that it's all about being self-regulate. You go and search yourself, go and do that, go and find out. But if you were to tie it with their position, with their performance management, I believe there is a way to do it even at very little cost. So of course, I think this is what business leaders would want to know, is how to do it with very little cost. The other questions that's coming from, I think, Jenny B is, so how do you keep the employee engaged when you talk about employee engagement during your work from home? Maybe I can direct this to Vaclav. Since you guys are still 100% working from home, so how do you ensure this employee engagement going on?
Actually, yeah, it's a bit less difficult than I thought at the beginning. I personally was struggling with this in the first few days. Then we settled on some kind of regular touchdown points. We have, and the same goes for the other teams, not just my team. We have 2 daily calls, one in the morning and one in the evening, where we catch up on things, and people can raise their questions and discuss their issues with other people in the team and so on. And then the 2 like all team calls throughout the week, where we do mainly engagement activities. Lately, we have done team dancing. So we played the music song, a music video, and we were mimicking the dancers, and you know, with the webcam on, and it was very funny. Or we play different games and so on. But I also have to say, I think these regular touch points, they help to boost the productivity from my perspective. Before we used to have one team meeting a week, yeah, and probably it's not enough as I can see it now. On the other hand, I think the prerequisite for this is that the team has been already working very well together before. So I think if you have a dysfunctional team and you bring them into this situation, then you will probably struggle a lot more. Whilst we were already working quite well together before, it just took us a while to adjust to this new situation and the virtual kind of interaction. Obviously there's less non-verbal interaction, so I personally had to learn how to run these meetings because I realized that probably in real life I use a lot of non-verbal cues and signals and gestures and whatever not, which and we cannot always use the webcam because of the limitations of the network and the tools we are using. So I had to learn how to verbalize things more in order to transmit the same content I want to share, and also how to react to the technical difficulties, because sometimes there's a lag, you know, there's echo in the audio, sometimes people disconnect. So how to keep everyone like pretty much engaged despite of this technical issues. And then what we did as a company was we had a series of so-called engagement calls. So we organized it team by team. And in every calls, there was me plus the HR business partner, which is responsible for the team. We had a series of questions which we asked the people, and we asked them to share how they do and whether they need any support from the company and so on, and how they deal with different sort of issues. So things like some people, some employees learned how to cook, because before they were always used to eat out, but since all the outlets were closed, they had to learn how to cook. Some came with some creative ways how to keep the children amused whilst they have to, you know, have their private space for work and being on calls and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, it was very refreshing and inspirational, informative. So far so good, I have to say. And now this week actually we are starting another round of our engagement survey, which is run centrally from the headquarters. Last time I think we had 71% engaged employees. I'm really curious what the results will be like this time.
Thanks, Vaclav. Peter, what about your side?
Okay. On the employee engagement again, a lot of talk about employee engagement centered around activity. And when you center everything into the activity, then general feeling is that when you are actually at the remote, some of the activity can't be done. So it's what else you could do. Vaclav shared quite a very, it's pretty comprehensive in that sense that, you know, engagement is just not about having activities, fun activities, but also engagement is really about having these very one-to-one conversations, setting expectations, what sort of, really trying to understand the individuals, what are the challenges that they face. And this is a time where you live up to your expectation. You know, you always, if you have as a leader, you have always been going around and tell people that, you know, you're the most important assets of the organizations. Now, during the crisis, do you still continue to advocate that. If you are advocating that, then you need to find out what are the people generally feeling about, and what are the challenges that they face. If you are not able to understand their challenges, then you'll be very challenged to engage them. I always have this in my last 20 years of work. I always have this little tricks that I always use. I will make a little bit of time on a regular basis to have my working lunch with my team. And of course, this is not doable right now, but over the years, if you have worked with them and you know some of their, some of their challenges or some of them family members, if you have an employee with a young child, you can always ask the first questions when you actually make the calls, or before you even start the Zoom meetings. You can always say, "Hi, good morning, everybody." Then you just call up a few people and say, "Hi, Leo, how is your kids doing?" Because with that means so much to Leo. He will immediately able to connect that, oh, my boss actually cannot be beyond me, even including my family members. So a little tricks like that actually go a long way. Don't be mechanical. You just say every morning, start calling people, and then sometimes you call and asking the questions irrelevant to the person. Then people will say, "You see, boss don't even know that I don't even have kids. Ask me how is my kids doing." You get what I'm trying to say? So it's really connect on the personal level that actually give that engagement going. And when that happens, you will be amazed that your employee actually come to you and say, "Boss, how about your family?" When you touch on their loved ones, someone's loved ones, that can go a very deep connections. And that helps in all my years that I work with different people. It could be, it not necessarily has to be my team members. It could be business partners that I work with. We hardly meet 3 times in a year, but when we ask that kind of questions, immediately we are able to connect. And that's why I used to work in Malaysia, and I have 24 different branches at the region. Interestingly, I'm not their business partners. After I move on, after 3.5 years of being their business partner, I move on to different roles, and I'm no longer their business partners. They don't go to their business partner. They run to me. Even at 11 o'clock at night, family members need to admit to the hospital. They call me and say, "Hey, Peter, can you show me how to do this?" I said, "I don't have the detail in front of me. I got to log into the system and give me 10, 15 minutes. I will respond to you. Is it emergency in the first place? If it is emergency, go to any hospitals that is nearest to you. Don't go and take your time waiting for the 15 minutes. But if you can wait, 15 minutes will be fine." So if you are able to really connect at that level, people will look for you for a solutions. They don't see who you are. They see you as a person that you can rely on. And as a boss, sometimes when you start, like what Barclay say, use the coaching conversations, it goes a long, long way. I hope that helps.
Yeah, I think precisely that is why, I mean, when we talk about engagement, interestingly, this was mentioned only in Malaysia, I think probably about 5 years back. It has become a very hot topic. Oh, we have to engage them. There is also questions like, "Oh, I pay you salary and now I still have to engage you." So I think probably the question is here, we want to establish that it's actually a relationship. So this relationship, of course, is not just limited to work, employer-employee, but on a personal level. And of course, knowing these little details, we call it the moment that counts. So it's important so that you remember, like what Peter mentioned, after a while, then you will know these sort of things, the little moments, family members. If this person has recently probably just gave birth to a daughter, to a son, or situation in the family, and that also helps on being empathetic to understand the situation that your staff has faced. We have seen situations that are probably these are the high performers, top performers, doing very good for few years, suddenly become not so good, facing some challenges, So these are the situation. Probably there's a shift and change in the family, in his or her life, which we may not notice because there is no such relationship being established. It's just a transactional relationship. So when it's transactional means you give me money, I give you your time. That's all, right? So I think that is the definition of engagement in a deeper level. I think I totally agree that Vaclav mentioned, yeah, these are the activities. Used to be we all do team buildings. I think maybe many of you just still remember those days. After team building, everyone was so hyped for the first 1 week, 2 weeks. After that is the same because there is no purpose in that team building. There's no relationship. There's no engagement inside. It's just activity. So what Vaclav and Peter has shared is a very enlightening experience and also practices that they have been doing. Yeah, I think like staff birthday, what do you do, right? Delivery, birthday cakes, even a card. Today we have been gone back to those in all festive, we just wish, sending a forwarded message. When you deliver a card, just a very small card, back to basic, I think they will appreciate a lot. So or even sometimes a birthday, some companies adopt what they call birthday leave. There's a leave for birthday that they can take. Yeah, so they can actually celebrate that. So these are some things that, a small gesture of cares. So we always like to set our session on time. So it's 3:24. So I said 3:25. So I would like to take this opportunity to share with you all. If you have any questions, because the crowd is quite quiet, always engage with us, send us a message, leave your probably some questions or answer our surveys, or even go onto this link and schedule a workforce guidance with us. So of course, if there are any resources, do you need the tools? And as I mentioned earlier during this session, we are forming a coaching program. This coaching program will empower HR to become human capital enabled, specialists, or, so basically we want to empower you to be more strategic rather than, operational or administrative. I'm not saying, don't get me wrong on that part. So basically, so this is the part where we want to engage with you. We want to also talk to you more. If there is none other than that, I would like to end this session. Thank you very much to Peter Law and also Vaclav for having their time off from, a public holiday to share with all the audience here and also on Facebook Live. So anything that you have, or you can, if you want the slides today, the session recording today, send us your emails, give us your emails, or let us know. Because of course we can always blast to everyone, but we don't want to hoard you guys or spam you guys. So let us know what you need, what you want. Of course, we are here to always be your responding partner. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Vaclav, and thank you everyone for attending today.
Yep. Before we end, can you switch off the share screen so that we can have a big family picture portrait? So everyone, would you mind opening up your camera so that we can have a great
we'll do that.
And then so give some time to some of the people. Do open up your faces as well, and then after let's have a big picture.
Yeah,
right.
Give that going.
Right. Okay. So 1, 2, 3. Right. All right. Great. That would be nice. We can have more. So maybe next posture, I would say.
Next posture.
Yeah. And anything that you like, like maybe next family in a way. Right. All right. In 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
Nice. Okay. Good. Awesome.
You have other pages. So many people in different pages.
I'm doing the pages to pages now. So everyone, just switch on your camera. And let's have a great big selfie, I would say, on this. Right. 1, 2, 3. Hang on. We still have more to come. Okay. Right. Okay. One more round. Anyone who hasn't opened up your camera, please Open up your camera and let's have a fun selfie. Okay, on 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you so much. Oh, nice pictures, nice smiles, everyone.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
Right,
Thank you.
yes,
Thank
yes.
you. Have a great
So
rest
to
of the
those
day.
who still have questions anyhow, so just drop your questions at our Facebook page, and then we will try to get it answered accordingly also, so that we are creating the values to the crowd.
Yeah, we're just thinking. I
Yeah.
was just thinking in the interest of some of the students in this group right now.
Right.
If you would like some sort of arrangement for us to address and help you in the journey, do reach out as well. Yeah.
Yep. Ken,
That
we
would
will.
be just contact Brandon or Leo on this.
Yep. Just contact us, drop your email here, or share your concerns or anything that you would like us to share on. Then after that, we will be try our very best to deliver the values to the crowd, given the fact that we know that MCO has been quite uncertain. So there are so many uncertainties nowadays out there.